I'm so excited. We are going to be talking about how your ego is linked to hustle energy and how your intuition is linked to flow. So, thinking about your goals, thinking about your career, if you find yourself in hustle mode, you are actually in your ego. And your ego is leading, calling the shots, running everything. So, ego is the part of us that usually shows up as a form of self protection. And our ego is rooted in fear. Our ego wants to protect us. Our ego wants to, quote unquote, keep us safe. So, what our ego does is our ego is going to find the path of most resistance, not the path of least resistance, but the path of most resistance. So, when you are thinking about working on your goals, if you find yourself working, hustling, grinding, putting in the hours, putting in the reps, and you're not achieving the goals that you want to, your ego is running the show. Have you ever experienced something where it just happened so easily, you felt in flow? That is your intuition guiding you. But unfortunately, we live in this hustle culture, and this hustle culture is like, you got to wake up at 5 a.m. with a cold plunge, and you got to do all these things, and you have to have the most amazing work day. And then at the end of the work day, you got to connect with friends, family, loved ones. You got to eat healthy. It's really like hustle and grind. And when we talk about maybe our goal is to have a slow morning, we want to have a very intuitive morning. We want to have an intuitive led morning. A lot of times, a lot of coaches in the industry will say, no, you got to do more. You got to do more. You got to do more. Go, go, go. And the part of us that tells us we have to do more is actually our ego, because our ego, again, is the path of most resistance. Intuition is the path of least resistance. Least resistance. So, as you are working towards your goals, if you find yourself getting burnt out, if you find yourself putting in so many hours and you're not reaping the benefits, you are being ego led instead of intuitive led. And your ego wants you to have a dysregulated nervous system. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, you will people please. You will show up for everyone else. You will take care of everyone else. When your nervous system is dysregulated, you'll get an idea like, oh my gosh, I really want to work on this goal. And then all of a sudden you notice, why is there so much resistance to taking action on my goals? Maybe it's been on my vision board, it's been on my goals, and I'm noticing, why is it taking so much effort to achieve my goals? Those are signs that your nervous system is dysregulated. Let's say, for example, you're like, all right, I'm going to go start working on my goals, whatever they are. And then all of a sudden you grab your phone and you're like, I'm just going to check one thing really quick. I'm going to check an email. I'm going to check a text message. And then all of a sudden you've been on your phone for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And then you're like, I'm tired. I don't have any energy to work towards my goals anymore. That is because your nervous system is dysregulated. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, it's sending a signal to your brain that you are in stress. You are in distress. You cannot handle anything else. So when we think about achieving our goals and we think about manifesting our goals, if our nervous system is dysregulated, what will actually happen is our brain will say, I cannot handle more. I can't handle more clients. I can't handle more money. I can't handle more abundance. It's really just focusing on what I cannot do, because the dysregulated nervous system is saying there is no way that I could handle more. So when we lean into our intuition allows us to regulate our nervous system, which puts us in the peace state. And when our body and our nervous system are in the peace state, it is easier for us to achieve our goals, because then our mind is saying, hey, I'm in a peace state. I can handle more. I can handle more money. I can handle more success. I can handle more abundance. I can handle more love, joy, you name it. But when your nervous system is dysregulated, you are going to be in hustle mode. It's going to be like, I'm going, 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 and I'm never reaping the benefits, and I'm never feeling like I can rest. So then when we rest, we feel guilty. Oh, I didn't work hard enough to rest. Oh, I didn't push myself hard enough. Who am I to rest? Rest is lazy. Then we tell ourselves all of these stories on why we can't rest. But in reality, when we listen to our intuition and we are intuition led, our intuition is like, go take a nap. And then your body is like, but if I take a nap, then I'm not going to take action. If I can't take action, then I'm never going to do this. And if I'm never, we start to spiral. That's our ego trying to suppress our intuition. And when our ego suppresses our intuition, our nervous system gets dysregulated and we go back into stress. And our body's like, we can't handle anymore. We can't even handle rest. So then when you're actually resting, your body's not getting restored because you're not actually able to allow you to rest. So now you might be wondering, okay, so how do I shift from a dysregulated nervous system with my ego to a regulated nervous system with my intuition? So this is the biggest thing that you can do. And if you're in my world, you know that I'm going to be talking about this for a while. We have to identify the core wounds of what caused your nervous system to get dysregulated in the first place. Usually this is a result of trauma. Typically, you have some type of trauma, some type of traumatic event, which dysregulates your nervous system, right? Puts you into a trauma response. Your body responds to the trauma. If you don't process the trauma, your body gets stuck at the peak of your trauma, which then your nervous system stays dysregulated. So even if you're doing all of these nervous system hacks, right? You're taking the cold plunges, you're EFT tapping, you're meditating, you're visualizing, you're going for walks, you're working out, you're doing all the hacks that on paper should regulate your nervous system. But what's happening in reality is it's not working because your body is still stuck at that peak trauma. So healing your trauma, healing the wounds that caused your body to get dysregulated is going to allow your body to finally get into the peace state. And when you heal your nervous system and you regulate your nervous system, you can handle so much more because then your brain is no longer thinking, I'm so stressed, I can't handle more, even if more would make your life easier, right? If you had more abundance, that might make your life easier. If you had more energy, that would make your life easier. If you had more support. But what happens is the brain just focuses on more and it freaks out and it shuts down, which then puts you into hustle mode. All right, I got to be action oriented. I got to do. A joke I always say with my clients is, are you a human being or are you a human doing? And a lot of times people show up as a human doing who's constantly doing, instead of being a human being who's listening to your intuition and following your intuition. What happens though, our intuition on paper does not make sense to anyone. A lot of times our intuition wants us to do less in order to achieve more. So that looks like your intuition's like sleep in. Your intuition is like, don't post today, take a nap. Your intuition's like, don't work on that work project, go for a walk. Your intuition's like, hey, read that book instead of write that paper. And so then the rest of the world is like, oh my gosh, you're not doing what you're supposed to do in order to get into alignment. And we go back to the identity of a human doing instead of it being a human being. Because we have learned very young to shut off our intuition. So thinking about kindergarten, when you went to kindergarten or preschool, we know our intuitive cues. We know when we're hungry, we know when we're thirsty, we know when we need to use the bathroom, right? Babies are really good with their intuitive cues. They cry if they need their diaper changed, they cry if they're hungry, and so on. So we go to kindergarten, and what happens? I have to go to the bathroom, and the teacher says, it's not bathroom time. You say, oh, I'm hungry, and the teacher says, oh, it's not lunchtime. You're like, oh, I have all this energy, I want to run around, and the teacher says it's not recess time. So we learn at a very young age to suppress our intuitive cues. We learn at a very young age not to listen to those intuitive nudges because we get in trouble. And when we get in trouble, our ego steps in as a form of protection. So our ego steps in and says, okay, we know that if we're hungry, if we want to use the bathroom, if we want to play, and we ask the teacher, we're going to get in trouble. Okay, so we're going to suppress that and be the best student ever. We're going to follow all the rules. We're going to listen to all the instructions, except for ego-led is not your unique blueprint. Ego-led is the blueprint that society told you. And a lot of times the blueprint that society has told you is work really hard, work so hard, and one day you're going to hit your goals. Oh, but by the time you hit your goals, you're actually going to retire and you're going to be so exhausted from all the work that you won't make it. There's this terrible statistic, and my dad is a retired police officer, and he said the statistics show that most retired police officers die after 5 years of retirement. Horrible statistic. And so my dad, when he retired, he was like, I don't want to be that statistic. I'm going back to work. So he went back to work in a totally different industry because he's like, I don't want my body to be like, we can finally rest now. And then it literally collapses. So how you can start to listen to your intuition and kind of use those intuitive nudges is, first off, heal your trauma. Heal your wounds, your emotions that are causing your nervous system to get dysregulated. And when you heal those, you make room for the abundance you seek, whatever that looks like. Taking full responsibility for healing your nervous system, getting it back into alignment from being dysregulated is going to be your superpower. And once you heal those core wounds, once you heal those core emotions, those traumatic experiences, it allows your nervous system to find safety in the present moment. It's no longer being pulled from the past. And when you find safety in the present moment, those nervous system techniques that you do will actually work, such as EFT tapping, meditating, going for walks, cold plunges, sauna, meditating, visualizing, you name it. Those will all work when your nervous system is rested. A lot of times we think that our nervous system is regulated because that's all we know. We're like, of course, I'm not stressed, of course. But I can guarantee that you're not as regulated as you think you are. And if you're into muscle testing, you can actually muscle test to your subconscious. Is my nervous system dysregulated? I asked my clients that this week, and every single one of them said, yes, my nervous system is dysregulated. And I said, great, in our next session, we are going to be working on healing the core wounds that caused your nervous system to get dysregulated. So the everyday techniques you're doing will actually work and implement. So don't mind my dog. So when you are working on nervous system regulation, EFT tapping, cold plunges, all of these things are going to help you stay in alignment. And some of the ways that you can start to listen to your intuition is when you wake up, ask yourself, how do I want to do my hair? So this is an easy one. How do I want to do my hair when I wake up? What do I want to wear? What color do I want to wear today? What do I want to eat for breakfast? So when you are looking to reconnect with your intuition, doing things that you already have to do, but allow yourself to be intuitive-led versus ego-led. So ego-led is people-pleasing. Oh, well, I can't do my hair like that because people will think it's weird. I can't wear that color because of whatever rules, like no white after Labor Day. I can't do XYZ because someone else has told me this. Okay, so come back to your intuition. What does my intuition want to eat for breakfast? What does my intuition want to do with their clothes? What does my intuition want to do to move my body? And the more you start to strengthen that inner voice, your inner compass, right? This is the Inner Compass podcast. The more you strengthen that intuitive guidance, magic is going to unfold. The most amazing things happen when we listen to our intuition, but so often we ignore our intuition and we go back to our ego. And when we go back to our ego, hustle, grind, people pleasing, stress. So going back, regulating your nervous system, healing those core wounds will help you. And make sure you are subscribed to this channel and this podcast because each week I'm going to be teaching you different strategies and techniques to truly listen to your intuition. Because when you are intuitive led, your nervous system is regulated, you will be able to achieve your goals at like quantum speed. Quantum speed. I'm telling you, when you actually are regulated and not just like quote unquote doing the nervous system regulation techniques, but truly regulated, like you could muscle test and your body says, I am regulated, you will become a magnet to what you desire because your body is vibrating at the frequency that matches with what you are doing, your desires. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's podcast live. I will see everyone next week. Bye, everyone.